Hi guys, my name is Kylie. I am a film student studying here in California. I am going to California Lutheran University, and oh boy, I just saw Invisible Man last night. It was the opening night. Today is the 28th, so yesterday was the 27th. It was the opening night, and oh my gosh, I was so excited to see this movie, and let me tell you, it did not disappoint. Okay, so I'm just gonna get right into it. So, The Invisible Man is based off of a movie from 1933, which is also titled The Invisible Man. And in the 1933 version, the main character is a man who drinks this potion that makes him invisible, but one of the side effects is insanity. So the movie that I saw last night, that came out in 2020, is obviously a much more modern rendition, and it follows a woman named Cecilia. And IMDb's logline for this movie is, "When Cecilia's abusive ex takes his own life and leaves her his fortune, she suspects his death was a hoax. As a series of coincidences turn lethal, Cecilia works to prove that she is being hunted by someone nobody can see." So this movie was written and directed by Australian director Lee Whannell. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I'm not sure. I'll put it on the screen. And it's starring Elizabeth Moss as Cecilia and Aldous Hodge as Officer James. Now, these are both incredible actors. I actually saw Aldous Hodge at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival earlier this year, about a month ago. And he's so funny. He's so charismatic. He was brilliant in this movie. Let's see. IMDb says that this movie has a 7.7 out of 10, but that's only after 2,000 reviews, so there will probably be plenty more after just this weekend, this opening weekend alone. So yeah, I'm going to be breaking down and reviewing this movie, and then eventually I will get into some spoilers because I can't not talk about the twists and turns that this movie took. I loved them, and the trailer put me off a little bit. I don't know if this happens to any of you guys, but sometimes when I watch trailers, I feel like they give everything away, and then I'm a little bit less excited to see the movie. And I kind of thought that that happened with this trailer. I thought, oh, so the twist is, everyone thought he was dead, but then, surprise, he's actually alive in this suit that he designed, and he's just invisible. Nay, nay. There are some crazy twists that I did not see coming, and I loved it, but I'll get into those later. So first I'll just kind of talk about the more holistic aspects of the movie. I would be remiss if I did not talk about the cinematography in this movie. Oh my goodness. When you can pause a movie on any frame and use said frame as a poster or, some form of advertising for the movie, which in this movie you can, that says a great deal about the cinematography. When every shot is lined up with care and everything is placed in such an aesthetically pleasing way in the shot, and there's depth, and you got the rule of thirds, and everything is just, oh my goodness. So I'm gonna add some pictures from the movie right now. Oh my goodness. When she's in the attic, the lighting is just beautiful, and she's holding the knife, and the lighting is kind of glinting off of the knife and making it shine, and everything else is just dark surrounding her. And then you have this shot of her in the closet, and I love how the light is in the middle, and even though the light is in the middle where her invisible ex-husband is standing, you can't see him, and then it's dark on either side. I love the symmetry and the balance of this shot. Also, yeah, you'll find a lot of balanced shot. There's a shot of her and her sister. I love the hues in this movie. There's a lot of blue tones, and it just kind of sets a very somber mood. You have this one, oh my goodness, when it's just pouring rain, like look at all those blues coming through, and then contrasted with the red of that emergency vehicle as well, and kind of the orange of like her outfit and the cars. I love the contrast of light. And then, oh, there's this beautiful shot of her in the bathroom, and even though you can see in the mirror, you can see behind her, there's still just this complete sense of dread. Even though you can see all of her surroundings, there's just still so much suspense within this shot. And then again, when she's running away, just the balance and the symmetry of the shots I think are so beautiful. And don't worry, none of these are giving anything away. Okay, so moving away from the shots a little bit, I also thought that the CGI in this movie, there's a little bit. It's just on the Invisible Man's suit, and you kind of have like a close-up of it, and you see like its inner mechanisms, sort of. And I didn't think that the CGI was distracting whatsoever. I thought it was beautifully done. It was just perfectly done. Because sometimes I find that CGI can be distracting, and I don't know if you've seen It Chapter 2. There was a lot of CGI in it, and not to say that it was bad, and I loved the movie. I love the It movies, no disrespect on those movies, but the CGI can be a little bit distracting. I very much prefer practical effects, so I appreciated that in this movie, the CGI was very minimal. There's just a touch of it, you know? Also, let's discuss the suspense in this movie and its effectiveness. Now, I feel like this movie creates suspense in ways that most movies cannot. The actors actually did an interview with IMDb, and I feel like Elizabeth Moss kind of said it best. I'll link that interview below. I'm just gonna paraphrase her and a couple of the actors a little bit because they make some really good points. So she said that when you can't see what's coming or how it's gonna hurt you, you can't really estimate how badly it's gonna hurt or you know, even what's gonna happen at all. And I think that most movies don't really have that element. You could say that if you've seen the Netflix movie Bird Box, actually they remove the actor's sense of sight. So, or I should say the characters. They remove the character's sense of sight. So I think that when you remove that, or you remove hearing, just removing any sense in general definitely amplifies the horrific elements of any movie, and it just amps up the suspense in such a major way. And the director, Lee, was talking about how if you can set up a shot on an empty hallway and create suspense, I mean, you're doing something right, okay? Because, you know, it's about this invisible man, you have no idea where he's gonna be, so obviously they had a lot of like lingering shots just on like rooms and down hallways, and when you have that, he could literally be there. So even if he is not actually there and he's not actually in the scene, he just feels ever present because he is invisible. He could be there, he could not be, and either way, you wouldn't know. And another terrifying aspect of this movie is also just the fact that, actually, Stormy Reed is the girl who played Sydney. I think she said it best. She said, if someone has enough money, intelligence, and power, they can ruin your life. And while, you know, there might not be anyone inventing invisible suits anytime soon, people with money and power and intelligence, they can most certainly ruin your life. That is a very real thing. Okay, another horrifying element of this movie that I thought was when Aldous Hodge's character, Officer James, was getting beat to heck by the Invisible Man. This isn't really a spoiler because it is in the trailer, so I feel okay talking about it. But you have Aldous Hodge. Look at him. I mean, look how massive he is, and he is 6'1", okay? And there are other shots in the movie where he's wearing like a white tank top, and you can see how physically massive this man is, and he's getting beat up by this invisible person. It's just extra terrifying because you'd think that, you know, in the movie he would be the protector, the one that would not be so affected by him, but he was just as much, and so I found that to be very effective as well. Okay, so I mentioned briefly before the acting in this movie. It is phenomenal. I was sold on Elizabeth Moss when I saw her in Us. The scene where she is putting on the lipstick and just kind of like smiling in the mirror and then slowly putting it on, it just made me realize this woman is not afraid to take it there. She takes stuff to weird places, and I love it because in terms of the horror genre, getting weird is one of the most effective ways to elicit an emotional response, because sometimes when something is just super weird, we don't know how to act, we don't know how to respond to it, and then therefore we're just more frightened. So I love her, and I watched a little snippet of an interview she did with Seth Meyers about her stunts, and apparently she did most of them herself, and this is really impressive considering the fact that she had to be tied up onto a harness, she was being thrown around, and she had to do like a whole fight scene with this guy that was in obviously like a green suit with one of the stuntmen, and she said that they did it 5 or 6 times, which might not sound like a lot, but if you've ever done any sort of mixed martial arts training, kickboxing, anything like that. I used to take kickboxing classes. If you do an entire fight scene 5 or 6 times with exact choreography, your body and yourself is getting thrown around, that's a lot. That's a lot of physical work, but she nailed it, and those scenes came out just mwah. I can't help it. I have to talk about spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, please pause this video, go run out and go see it, and then come back, and then we can talk about these spoilers. Okay, so there were 2 moments in this movie that just truly took my breath away. And the first one, if you've seen the movie, you can agree with me, the moment in the restaurant when he kills her sister. There's this brief pause where you see the knife floating in the air and you don't know what's gonna happen. that pause just feels like it's 10 minutes long or something. You don't know what's gonna happen. It's so frightening. Normally in horror movies, when you are in a restaurant or any public setting, normally that's a moment for you to breathe a sigh of relief. You think, okay, I have a scene here. I have about 5 to 8 minutes to just relax before we get back into it. No, no. No, no, no. This scene was just so effective in placing, at least for me, in placing myself in this poor woman's shoes. She's in a public setting. It looks like she's just committed murder. And the moments of this scene with the people around her, like for instance, when she's holding the knife that's dripping blood, and then you have a rack focus shot from the knife to the woman behind her sitting at the table next to her, and she looks over and sees it in just that moment, and then the restaurant, everyone's slowly realizing what's happening, and her realizing what's happening and shaking and dropping the knife. It's so chaotic, and it was so unexpected that it's just, I also love how that scene is very much foreshadowing how Adrian himself gets killed in the end. Very much an eye for an eye, poetic justice scenario. And then the second moment that took my breath away is when you realize the man in the invisible suit is not Adrian, but it's in fact his brother, who was pretending to be on her side for well over half of the movie. That was very jarring, and it also clued you into the fact that Adrian was actually still alive somewhere. So there were just layers and layers of things going on, and you keep thinking that you're in the climax of the movie, but then you're not, and then there's more, and oh my gosh, it just keeps building on top of each other, and it's so chaotic and lovely and brilliant, and okay, so I'm going to start wrapping it up pretty soon. Just the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the character arc of Cecilia that I thought was incredible. She starts as this poor woman. She is so tired and so disheveled. She's so defeated by this man that has just been physically and emotionally abusing her for who knows how long. I think it said that they met in 2017, so probably a couple years, maybe 2 years. But I mean, I couldn't even imagine 2 years stuck in a relationship like that. And then by the end, she looks completely different. In the beginning, she's wearing just gray sweats most of the time. She has really intense bags under her eyes. She's just very disheveled looking. Her hair is a mess. And then at the end, after she kills Adrian, her hair is all done. She has this bad bitch red lipstick on, and she just looks so good. She's in this sleek black dress, and she just has overcome this person, and she has achieved the ultimate revenge on him. He's gone. He's dead. He's out of her life. Although she is pregnant with his baby, and she has one of the invisible suits in her possession. So it leads me to wonder, could there be a sequel? I don't know. I don't think it needs one. You tell me, you weigh in, let me know. I don't know, but I would watch it. For my final thoughts, I asked myself these 3 questions, and please feel free to answer them yourself in the comments. I would love to see if you disagree with me or if you agree. Did I like this movie? If you couldn't tell by now, yes, I loved this movie. Even though a lot of the time I was plugging my ears or covering my eyes, I was so involved and so taken with this movie and just how beautifully it was shot. Yes, I loved it. I loved it. Go see it, please. How did this movie make me feel? I felt genuinely terrified, and I felt very empathetic towards poor Cecilia. I truly felt the suspense, and I felt terrified myself. And I know it's just a screen, and they're actors, and everything like that, but movies can elicit very genuine emotions, and I felt genuinely terrified. What did this movie leave you thinking about? This isn't necessarily what it left me thinking about, but this movie had me spooked. It was about 10:30 when I got out of the theater, and the parking lot was relatively empty because it was a Thursday night. I think it would have been less frightening for me if there were actually people populating the parking lot or walking around, but there was no one. So I was like, is there actually no one here, or is there someone lurking around? So the movie left me even outside the theater feeling frightened, and that's worn off by now. It's the next morning, but still. One thing that also stuck with me was obviously the scene where her sister was murdered, and it was just so sad to me because in her sister's final moments, she thought that her own sister Cecilia was the one who killed her. And so the fact that she died that way was just really tragic, and that left an impression on me. This movie also left me thinking about the fact that there are a lot of women and men that are stuck in abusive relationships, and I don't have any experience with this myself, but it did help me get a better understanding. Even though obviously it's a movie, it's insanely dramatized, but things like this do happen to people, and so it left me thinking about that. I will try to link some charity pages or organizations in the description or in the comments below, just helping people getting out of those situations, because I think that this movie does make some social commentary regarding abusive relationships. So thanks so much for joining me for this movie review and breakdown. I hope you liked it. Let me know, and also let me know if there are any other movies you'd like me to review. I'm likely going to be seeing a lot more movies this year, specifically a lot more horror. I'm obviously a very big horror fan, and I really enjoy making these videos. I enjoy sharing my thoughts because I don't have a ton of people around me to talk about them with. So let me know, and I hope I see you on the next one. Bye!